stories like that, right? Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that wonderful story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And one day I'll be able to just say it in Michif because it's all written there
Oh,
in
yeah.
Michif. And it's
Yeah.
interesting when you look at the writing of it, you can really see the blending of cultures. Very, very obvious. You can see the blending of the French and the Cree for that story, right? Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
It's beautiful. So, do we have any questions?
There weren't any.
No questions.
No.
That's
There was
okay.
a lot of like, this is awesome.
Oh,
Oh.
awesome. And if there's ever any other questions, I can also like you have my info and I can always if I don't have the answer, I can always find the answer. I have a lot of huge Rolodex of people in my circles that have different areas of expertise that I can also always find out and ask too. Um, yeah, and with saying that too, there's a really interesting thing that I'll share about just two spirit stuff if you want, just
Yeah.
a little thing.
Love
So with that, I always say that I always say if there's ever any questions that I can't answer, reach out. There's you can find me all different ways. Ash Morrow on Moreau a la Francais, on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, whatever you want. I'm on all the things, and and it's usually circles with youth, and I had a youth come up and say, I really, really appreciated hearing you talk because I don't often see someone that looks like me. That's Métis in like ceremony circles, and I have a hard time in ceremony circles. I have a hard time finding my place. You know, I often want to help with fire, but I'm never invited, and I know I don't feel always comfortable. Helping in the kitchen or doing things around water and being with the women, and I don't feel like I have a place. And I said, I will ask. I don't know the answer to that, but I will ask. Because for me, I felt the same way. I felt like I had a really hard time sometimes around ceremonies, with with even with sweats, where to sit, where not to sit, all these different protocols and things like that. And so when I had the opportunity, I met an elder that I felt might have that answer or that might be able to give some insight. So I passed Sema, and they said, well, two spirit people walk in balance, right? We all know that. That's like if you take all the different definitions of what people, all the things of what two spirit is, it's you walk in balance with male and female spirit. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so, well, what does water have, and fire have in common? I said, well, uh, I mean, water puts out fire. I mean, like I'm trying to think, and they said, no, think about it. So H2O, what's the O? I said oxygen. Oh, air. I said, yeah. There's water. There's oxygen in water, and you can't have fire without air, without oxygen, and that's the two spirit thing. So you're able to do both. You can do whatever wherever you feel comfortable is, and that's part of being two spirit is that you're able to walk in balance and you're able to help out and be a community helper in whatever way you can. Kind of like that story about the Michif person. Their gift was selling things. Their gift maybe wasn't preparing food and scraping hides and being with the women. Their gift was different. Their gift was maybe being a shooter. Their gift was maybe being, selling. Their gift was a different gift. And I think it's really important that whatever your gift is, that you use your gift, right? Like so. Um, so when I heard that, I was just so happy to be able to go back to that youth and say I found out, you know, and it's air, and there's been so many teachings that have come to me about air and about how two spirit people use their voice and use the air. Is the air in your voice is sometimes the air that is your gift, is like storytelling or singing or advocacy work or however you use your air. But air is definitely where a lot of two spirit people find strength and find their spirit is really,
Yeah.
really, really, really strong. Yeah.
Beautiful. Me
Yeah.
glad for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freedom, do you have anything that you might want to? Do you have any questions about or?
So my one question is, so my grandma's Michif, right? That's how she grew up. remember her sharing stories with me about her mom or her grandma who would look after a sweat lodge, right? And this is during that time when we had to go underground. So listening to you, I was just wondering, what's that correlation of our Michif and our Métis with like our spirituality, like from your viewpoints?
So this is a really really good question, because this, like I was talking earlier about kinship. We were a part of the same community. We lived together. We had the same families. Our families were intertwined, and that's where that part of spirituality comes to Michif people, is because we were a part of those same family units. So that would no, it's funny because I can remember there was a time where, and there's a lot of discrimination, a lot of hard times for Métis people distinguishing that we're Métis. And I remember a time when um, you know, people would say, like, well, you're Métis, we don't smudge. That's not our culture. And it absolutely is our culture. That is absolutely our culture. But not everybody is cultural. Not everybody is like, not cultural but ceremonial, right? So just like you have people that aren't ceremonial, you do have people that are ceremonial, and that were a part of those circles, or those like ceremony families. So um, yeah, we're a part of two different cultures that came together, and some families uh, used the survival mechanism of hiding those things, or not speaking Michif, or not being a part of ceremony and those parts of culture. Um, but I mean, if we look at a lot of different things too, like if you look at Bannock comes from Métis people. That's how Bannock came, is from Métis people. That's how it came to Anishinaabe culture. So there's always a kinship, or I don't know how to say it, but like a brotherhood between the two nations, of sharing and surviving together and being a part of it, of living together. And we were seen as brothers. We were seen as kin. We were seen as family, right? So
Yeah.
so that's how Métis people came to be, is because um, we were you know marrying into culture. And so just like today, like people that are from two different cultures that marry, they want their children to know both parts of that culture. So Métis people would know about both parts of that culture. The first children of the Métis would have been very incredibly versed in spirituality things, if that was a part of their family. They would be very very versed in reading and writing, because that was a part of the French culture, was the governance piece, and being like having those different values, and knowing how to fight that fight. As much as you want to know how to fight this fight or hunt, you need to know how to fight that fight. So being very very well versed in governance, and knowing how how to speak that um, other colonial language, right? To know how to speak that was really important, to fight for ourselves, to fight for us. And so there was a lot of sharing of that knowledge, and fighting for us. And like when we were fighting the wars of 1812, we weren't just fighting for Métis people. We were fighting for Métis people, Cree people, Ojibwe people. We were fighting. We were going to governments. We were fighting that fight for our community, our people, which we included. So the Soto, included the Cree, included wherever we came from, those communities that we had come together with, right? So there was a sharing of all those things, like the Métis flower beadwork people. It's funny. I go to powwows, and I see sashes everywhere, and I feel like I belong, because I see a lot of people have sashes on their regalia, and that's a part of Métis culture, right? So there's always been that sharing of culture and sharing of knowledge, and that's why we have that infinity as our symbol, because it is two cultures that come together. Every family had different aspects of culture that they kept. Some people, it wasn't safe, like you said, like it was underground. Some people didn't feel safe, and so they would only smudge in their home, and maybe even hide their items. And a lot of, not just Métis people, I see lots of people with it, but a little mini cast iron pot, that could just be for cooking. That's a good way to hide, you know.
And actually, with what you just said too, in terms of what you were sharing about that ceremony that you share, right? It just made me think how, you know, our Métis and Michif people, they are medicine people too, and within our bloodlines and within our ancestors, right? And so for people to know that it's okay
Yeah,
to
yeah,
carry that and
yeah,
do that work that you need to do.
yeah. And that I had a, you know, I did have, I like I mentioned earlier, I had a very hard time looking very colonial, looking very white, and walking in those spaces, and not only looking white and walking in those spaces, but also being gender diverse, walking in those spaces, because there's been a lot of colonial threads through ceremony, and you see it like in, you know, I wonder, was it, you know, there's so many different teachings about sweat lodges and where people sit, and there's only a handful of ones that invite me to sit where I feel comfortable, to let my spirit feel like it's being true to my spirit, you know. And so I'm always very conscientious of different circles I go into, because I don't throw shade to anybody that has those other teachings, because when someone gives me a teaching, I hold it on tight, and I want to share that teaching verbatim, you know, and like, so word for word, right? And so I don't throw shade to anybody that also does that, but I also won't be a part of those circles that don't include me, you know. So yeah.
The way I look at things too is that Creator made us all, and He
Right.
made you who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody belongs in our circles.
Absolutely. And we're slowly coming to the point where everyone is in the circle. I look around at different circles, and you know, a lot of people aren't. The circles aren't full. We're not a full circle yet, but we're coming very, very, very close. And there's so many people in the gender sense. There's so many people coming out right now, or coming in rather, to themselves and being themselves and being proud of themselves and being open about who they are, and being invited to different circles that I'm seeing that the work that's been happening for years and years and years and years to undo those colonial aspects are starting to, you know, we're starting to get there, where the circles are coming.
And what I just thought of too is how, you know, you're saying some people are trying to fit into our circles, where historically before colonization, you know, our people that were living in balance, right? We were so revered
I
within our
know.
cultures.
And that part of culture is where I found like I belonged. I come from, you know, like a pretty much not a really overly Catholic family, but historically Catholic. Like I have, you know, in my middle name, I have you know, everyone has a Joseph or a Mary in the beginning of their middle name and stuff like that.
I have
like,
a Mary in my name.
See, well, there you go.
It's one of my grandma's
There you
names.
go. That's why we're from the Michif.
Actually, it is.
There you go.
It is.
So,
It's the grandmother that I was telling
Yeah,
you about.
yeah.
Who had to do her lodges.
yeah. So like that cross the blending of cultures. There's all different ways of blending. Beadwork. I always look for 4 petals on people's beadwork, and and wonder if that's a little bit of their ancestors chiming in, going, "Oh, make that one with 4 petals," you know, or like, you know, those little things I always look for, or the mouse tracks. You know, I see myself in lots of aspects of ceremony all the time, but until you know that that's a part of Michif culture, you don't know, and you might not see yourself as a part of fitting in to the circle, you know, where we always did fit in, like you said. That's a beautiful way of saying it. Marcy.
I just want to say miigwech for you joining us this afternoon. I just absolutely loved everything you shared. You're a beautiful storyteller, and you just have this beautiful spirits.
Miigwech. Yeah, miigwech. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that I think we're almost at 2, right?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Are there any last questions? No, anybody want to jig?
I could go for some more jig, and that was fun. I would love to see Freedom join in too.
Yeah, and that story, the two women wed. I can send a link for that, and you can see the whole story has been written in Michif, and like proper Michif, like actually a studied researcher on the Michif, and I want to say on heritage Michif, which is southern Michif also, which is called heritage Michif. There's also northern Michif. There's also Bungi. There's all different types of Michif, but the Michif that my ancestors would have spoke is what the story is written in, and yeah, I will definitely send that for sure. And happy Louis Riel Day, everyone!
Yeah.
What a beautiful way to celebrate this day, right? Yeah.
Oh, right. So we are sending out a survey that's going to be in the chat box, and there will be a draw for a gift basket from that survey if, for the first 50 people who fill it out. Will be entered into a draw.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah. And thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very honored to be asked to come in and share. On this day, especially.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy that you were able to fit us into your schedule and to spend this beautiful day with us, right? And for all, my coworkers help facilitate it in this tent, right? With the wood stove.
Beautiful, yeah.
The hides all around, and I've just been looking at all your, the beadwork and seeing the flowers and yeah, and Miigwech for sharing the sash, because I didn't really understand, the teaching of the sash, and same thing with those colors, right? And I love the one where you it's a measuring tape too, right?
Yeah.
And so
yeah. And there's so much more.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have spent a whole day on sashes and the different ways of measuring things.
Yeah, I'm did we wrap their babies? Did they carry their babies with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? Moss bags.
Yeah.
Moss bags were a part of our culture too, and having those things. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But if you had to hang something up from a tree, or if you had to do stuff, there was tools.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was admiring your hide on the other side. You did a wonderful job
Oh,
on it. It looks good.
Thanks, chum. I'm my own worst critic. I'm like, oh, I should have went more there. Ooh,
No,
should have went more there.
it looks great. I was trying to tug on the hair. No, just kidding. Staying on. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, it's all in there good. Nothing comes out.
No, it's good. I love it. No, I'd love to work with you on your next hide.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
I'm almost
okay.
there.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't have
Keys or
oh, you know what? Kawapamatin mina is how you would say I will see you again. And I know there's the same with Bamapi is there's no real goodbye. It's I will see you again. So Kawapamatin mina, everyone.